Be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.
Hey, yo, keeping it a buck right now. We're Fourth and Frames, where tonight we're breaking down our plays and fades for Week 5. And if you're joining us live on YouTube, we'll be answering your questions as well. And if you're watching with us on YouTube and want to support our content, the best thing you can do is like this video and then subscribe to the Fantasy and Frames YouTube channel to catch any time a new podcast or a short form drops from us. And also, you can search for any of the podcasts here at Fantasy and Frames by name on your preferred podcast platform. For us, that's the Fourth and Frames podcast. And do not forget to lock in at fantasyandframes.com, where we've got ECR gurus like Nate Markham chiming in with the latest rankings for both Redraft and IDP, as well as our Stab Dynasty rankings and all of our latest articles. Fellas, we're a week into the season, and we finally, more than later, the injury bug has finally bit us. But before we get into our smash and pass for tonight, Nate, has the injury bug hit you? I know we've had some little sickness going around this show the last couple of weeks. You had a little throat bug last week, huh, bud?
I did. And it's funny you say that because the ECR rankings you talk about last week, since I wasn't on this show, having to listen to the either fantastic or horrible advice that we all collectively give, I had my best week of the rankings where I don't just systematically, as I do normally with you guys, move up players up and down as a result of your vast knowledge, which is obviously a joke. It's you guys are fantastic with everything, but I feel good. You know, I mean, it was a little rough for a few days, but all in all, I'm better.
And Aiden, how do you feel coming off of a week where your favorite team decided to bully my favorite team?
It's not my fault that Spencer Rattler. Yeah, but anyway, I feel pretty good, especially since it's your team. So.
Dude, that game was way too close. There was no reason for.
Yeah, I know. Bill's defense is just very bad, though.
Yeah. And Kyle, your team is your quarterback. QB1 gave us the soundbite of the year so far. So much so that your own fan base is beginning to make T-shirts featuring his prime soundbite. We ask. So Nate, I mean Kyle, whoever the hell you are,
you can ask Nate.
Yeah,
shows how much.
No, I'm feeling great. I'm glad to be here. I thought Cam Ward's comments were quite honest and quite hilarious, actually. So that's who he is. He's going to keep it real, and I respect it.
Probably one of the funniest sound bites I've ever seen from any NFL player ever. It's just
he's probably got more coming, Rhett. He's full of that kind of stuff. So there's more coming.
It's so refreshing to see somebody who has the media training but just chooses not to use it and just says what comes to their mind. Like, it's the funniest thing.
Probably got in trouble by the Titans PR team after that, but whatever.
He probably doesn't care.
He probably doesn't care. But yeah, guys, we're already at week 5 of the fantasy football season, man. That's crazy. Before we know it, we'll be talking about playoff races, start sits in those situations. We're starting to see guys emerge. We're starting to see guys fall off. Some guys are surpassing expectations. Looking at you, Jalen Warren. Some of us are very much falling short of the mark. Looking at you, Lad McConkey. But that's why we're here tonight, guys, because we want to give you our smash and pass players. And keep in mind, when we talk about a smash player, we're talking about a player who's ranked outside of the top 12 quarterbacks, the top 15 running backs, the top 20 wide receivers, or the top 10 tight ends in the Fantasy Pros Week 5 expert consensus rankings. And a pass player is a player that is inside the top 15 quarterbacks, top 20 running backs, top 35 wide receivers, or top 12 tight ends in that Week 5 ECR. So, fellas, we're going to get right into it. And, Nate, you're leading us off because I'm pretty sure you're reacting to a significant piece of news involving the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where Bucky Irving, out of nowhere yesterday, found out he had an MRI. Today, we find out he's on the sidelines in a walking boot and crutches. So all signs are pointing towards him not getting to see the field this Sunday, which means your first match play is a guy who we talked about literally last week and talked about the possibility of him starting to emerge and maybe becoming a bit more of a factor as the year goes on. So maybe we have some prophetic powers around here. But Rachaad White at ECR 34 playing the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, where he's being ranked, yeah.
Well, I mean, at this point, we start bye weeks. Obviously, there's been injuries galore, especially at the running back position. Well, at every position, but the running back more, I would say, focus as of the last 72 hours. But it was even without Bucky Irving guaranteed and quote unquote guaranteed being seen in the walking boot, et cetera. I was starting to lean towards Rachaad White having a more involved role with Tampa and Seattle, while on paper doesn't seem like the best matchup to say, bam, I can't wait. I'm excited for this. The one thing Rachaad White does extremely well, which is catch the ball in the backfield, is emphasized against a Seattle team, or at least a Seattle defense that's, fourth amongst defenses where they allow the running back to be targeted at around 21.5%. So you take the strength of what Rachaad White does well. You mix that with Tampa defense that, while they're really strong, my concern had been, well, they need Rachaad White if they're leading. In this case, they won't have to worry. I think that it's going to pretty much, I know the Sean Tucker conversation may get brought up occasionally where he may spell him here and there, but I think Rachaad White's all systems go as the vast majority of the snaps and touches, leading or trailing, both are beneficial, especially if he can see. I think 7 targets is probably, like a ceiling type play where you can get high end RB2 production with those numbers there. So yeah, maybe it's a process of hell, what do I have left? But I think he'll deliver, especially at an ECR. What did you say he was at 34? Is that what I put down? Yeah, 34.
Running back 34.
It's going to be hard not to see value in.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a good point because there are a lot of things going on right now, which brings to our boy Rob Thomas. Rob, as always, we loved you whenever you sang hits like 3 a.m. and Unwell, but we love you even more whenever you join our show on a weekly basis. But he's asking us, with Benson heading to the IR and Bucky in a walking boot on crutches, which backup finishes week 5 with the most PPR fantasy points? He's asking about Rachaad White, Amari DeMercado, Sean Tucker, and Michael Carter. We're going to talk a little bit of Michael Carter a little bit later. So we're going to shelf that question for now. Just understand, Rob, that we're going to come back to that because we are going to get into some Michael Carter talk in a little bit. So just stay a little bit patient, and we're going to be sure to rock with you and make sure that question gets answered, my friend. So, yeah, we will go from walking boot Bucky Irving, Rachaad White being a smash play. We're going to head over to you, Kyle. And, man, I'm going to just go ahead and call it like I see it. This is a bold call considering how this offense has been built this week. Yet, Devonta Smith as the ECR wide receiver 27 against the Denver Broncos. I mean, you're a man who likes to do his research. You know what you're talking about. You know your data. So go ahead and make the case for me because it's one when I saw it on the show sheet, I was, I'm curious to see the case behind this one.
Yeah, and to be honest, I was a little bit late to the show sheet this time, so Nate and Aiden kind of took both guys I actually wanted to take. So, here at Fourth and Frames, you got to kind of be ready for that and got to keep you on your toes. So, I went ahead and I pivoted and I went Devonta Smith, like you said, ECR wide receiver 27. And you're right, Rhett. This could come back to bite me. It could go either way on this. He is typically a boomer bust receiver for sure, but he has some good things for him in this matchup. The Broncos secondary, they play man coverage at the second highest rate in the league at 43.5%. Well, Devonta Smith ranks 6th among qualifying wide receivers in win rate versus man at 37.5%. So, in case you guys don't understand what that is, basically he wins at the line of scrimmage and he gets open. So that is a good thing for Devonta Smith. He also averages 2.5 yards per route run against man coverage. So that's even more chances for him to attack down the field and be a deep threat for this Eagles offense. And, of course, on the team, Smith currently leads the team in receptions and yards while ranking second in both air yards and targets. So he's just set up for a big fantasy day, in my opinion, against this Broncos. You can start him, I feel, confidently as a wide receiver too. And like I said, he is kind of a boomer bust receiver, but I think this game against the Denver Broncos, you'll see some of the boom, even though Jalen Hurts typically doesn't throw the ball very much. But I do think that this will be a boom day for Devontae Smith.
And I'm so glad you mentioned that last part about Jalen Hurts not throwing the ball a whole lot. Because I think last week, I saw the number where he passed for like 130 yards in the first half and then went 0 for 8 in the second half of last week's game. There's like 15 completions in the first half and then nothing in the first half. So, Nate, I'm just going to go ahead and ask you, like, we know that the Eagles tend to get ahead and tend to start to grind teams out on the ground. Does that usage with a guy like Devontae Smith, and while we're going to talk about it, AJ Brown as well, both have not gotten off to the greatest starts. More so AJ Brown, who had such high expectations and has just fallen so short. Do we think that this passing game usage is alarming? Is it a trend, or is it something that's kind of a flash in the pan?
So after week 3, that was the same question that I had internally, and I had expressed it to others on Sunday morning, is what are we going to see out of this Philadelphia offense? Is the second half of that week 3 matchup where they needed Jalen Hurts to actually throw the ball. And when they did, when him and AJ Brown hooked up, I saw this maybe hypothetical, obviously then warranted kind of hypothetical trust. And let's not rely entirely on just the running game, and let's put the ball into Jalen Hurts' hand to make sure that when this scenario comes up that we need to trust in the passing game, that there's the capabilities there and the team dynamic can rally around that if needed. Well, week 4 comes around and we see the same thing as what we've seen 2 of the other 3 weeks, is it reverts to basically just a passing or a running game. There's not enough passing volume, and the passing volume there is the short. I mean, like you just said, the yardage was pretty, I don't know, unimpressive. And so am I completely worried? I'm worried that you can't start both Smith and AJ Brown in any given week. I don't see that. Whereas we could say, quote unquote, confidently a few years back, where maybe as far as last year. Yeah, I think, both are capable with that offense. I don't know. I think this week makes a good case for Devontae Smith. I'll, get into why I think that's even better opposite, because I don't think this is a good week for AJ Brown. And yeah, I have my worries about fantasy relevancy, because I don't think Philadelphia really cares just how our fantasy teams are handled as long as they're winning football games.
And to your point, Nate, I think the Eagles, they want to run the football. And if they're ahead in the game, they're going to run the football. If they get behind, they have shown that they can pass and they will pass. But you're right. Typically, they're going to want to run the football, and they can do it with success for the most part.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So let's get to the chat, and let's get to a question where our boy Bob Hope, thank you for joining us. Loved your show back in the day. He's asking us to start 2 wide receivers between Cortland Sutton and Mecca Egbuka, Jacoby Myers and Devontae Adams. And then he has a quarterback question with Jalen Hurts or Drake May. Aiden, go ahead and start us off. Pick 2 wide receivers and then give us a quarterback.
Adams is definitely one of them. What were the other ones again? Sorry.
They're right there on the screen.
Sutton,
Sutton, Egbuka, Jacoby Myers, and Devontae Adams. And then the quarterbacks are Jalen Hurts and Drake May.
I'd go Egbuka and obviously Devontae Adams, just because Mike Evans is out, and like Devontae Adams, even with Puka, it's still a very high volume passing attack, and a QB like Matthew Stafford. And then I like Drake May quite a bit, but not over Jalen Hurts. So I'd go Jalen Hurts.
Kyle?
Pretty much there with Aiden. I love Drake May, though. I think I'll go Drake May, actually.
Ooh, okay. That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Denver on paper, I want to say Drake May. I still have a hard time not trusting that, you're not going to get just the simple rushing touchdown out of Hurts almost, like clockwork. But I agree with the wide receivers. Those are the two receivers that I would go with as well. But I would start Jalen Hurts if I had that same choice. So I don't want to give advice that I wouldn't actually back up.
I think
it's a nice problem to have for Bob. It's a nice problem to have for Bob. But for the case I can make for Drake May is he is your quarterback 4 right now in fantasy, Drake May. So
right, exactly.
If it's a single QB league, I'd trade him for other skill players. Like trade Drake May if you already have Jalen Hurts.
So here's an interesting thing. I didn't know it was this egregious. The Bills against the quarterbacks so far in 2025 have allowed 199 yards on the ground. And that was the area where I thought, and now what's Matt Milano's situation? Is he back this week or is he still going to be out again?
I highly doubt that. It sounds like the pec injury is more serious than they initially thought.
You know what? I'm gonna say that I'm gonna go Drake May. Only because the rushing upside, it does, if it's that pronounced. And I saw what Mahomes was able to do, granted different scenarios, but yeah, just it would be hard for me to push that button. It really would, to actually do it. But it makes sense.
And then he had another question where he's asking Amari the starter or Michael Carter. He picked up Amari. Like we told our friend Rob Thomas, we're going to be addressing that situation very shortly with one of our smash plays, the second round of those. But thank you guys for the questions. We appreciate you as always. But Aiden, I want to jump to you right now with your smash play because, my man, I like to give you a hard time. But every once in a while, you find a way to say something that captures my heart, my soul, my entire mind, and just everything about me. And whenever you put up on the show sheet Woody Marks against that atrocious Baltimore Ravens defense as the ECR running back 25, you might be a little too young to be familiar with the famed relationship book, The 5 Love Languages, but you spoke my love language whenever you brought out Woody Marks as one of your smash plays against the Baltimore Ravens this week. So tell them why, because that was a big week last week. He's starting to overtake Nick Chubb. There's news that we're not sure when Joe Mixon is going to be back. This could be more than a blip. It can be an actual thing that we have going on here with Woody Marks.
Well, first of all, I don't expect, just me predicting here, I don't expect Joe Mixon to play at all this year. That's just what I'm hearing. We haven't heard a single peep, single update, single anything. And number two, most importantly, the Baltimore Ravens have given up the most fantasy points to running backs through 4 weeks, in the entire league this year. And I think without Lamar Jackson for the next few weeks, definitely this game against the Texans, Woody Marks is going to be in a very positive, fantasy-friendly game script. Obviously, I think he could get a decent amount of goal line carries when they get down to the red zone goal line area because we were just waiting for that Woody Marks takeover, if you will. And for all intents and purposes, we saw that. If you look at the snap share counts, it was 60-40 split in favor of Woody. It used to be in favor of Nick Chubb. Now it's in favor of Woody Marks. So, folks, that's happened. But in PPR leagues, in just half PPR in any format, really, his value lies in the receiving game. Woody Marks is an outstanding pass catcher, and he can run a multitude of routes out of the backfield. And we talk about, rightfully so, how poor and bad and subpar, whatever adjective you want to use, really, that Houston offensive line is with the Texans. CJ Stroud's going to have to get quick dump-offs, quick outlets, Woody Marks. So I'd have no issues with firing up Woody Marks as an RB2 this week. I think the Texans are going to beat the Ravens. I think they're going to win big. And I think as they're trying to run the game out, I think Woody Marks is going to be in a very fantasy-friendly, positive game script. So I'd fire up Woody Marks as an RB2 and have no issues with it whatsoever.
Yeah, we talk about a good recipe to hopefully get CJ Stroud moving and get him going with Nico as perimeter wide receivers against Baltimore have historically done really well. So from an offensive script standpoint altogether, I think you're right. Yeah. I think Houston has an opportunity to make this a really high scoring game. And that just completely, that elevates that floor of Woody Marks even more so. So
I don't even know who's playing for Baltimore's defense anymore. They're all hurt. So.
They are absolutely.
They're all injured.
Yep, literally the entire. I mean the defensive front four has 2 injured players.
One for the season. Yeah.
Yep, they lost. They have 2 linebackers that are banged up. It's
bad.
You talk about the injury bug, Rhett, and Baltimore had it last week going in, and then the Chiefs just watched it spread. Yeah, it was great. But sorry, Baltimore.
It's not just like a one game thing either, in my opinion. Like, he has the perfect, like, if there was a graph of run snaps for him, it is like the most beautiful graph. I mean, week 1 was a 12% snap share. Week 2 was 28%. Week 3 was 49%. And then week 4 is 58%. He is just climbing up that ladder. And it might be, like Rhett said, this could be the real deal with Woody Marks.
Yeah, but that being said, I mean, I just have to ask the question, though. Like, you have a rookie running back. The snap share has climbed every week. But, I mean, what's the ceiling on it? I mean, I don't see a situation where Woody Marks ever gets to that. I don't even know if it's 70 or 80% where Woody Marks ever gets to. I think we're probably pretty close to the ceiling right now in terms of snap share. Whether it's 60%, 65% tops, I mean, yeah, it's significant. But is that a guy that we want to at the end of the day? I mean, I guess the question really becomes, are we at the ceiling of Woody Marks right now in terms of him being an RB2, Nate?
I mean, even if it's the ceiling as an RB2,
it's pretty good.
There's absolute value. I don't think anybody, and I don't think Aiden's stating that, hey, this is a guy we have to have and you need in your lineup as an RB1 going forward. This is a high-level flex option every week with the RB2 fluidity that you can move in and out of your roster. And I was going to pull up their schedule going forward, just seeing. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think Nick Chubb's going to get stronger as the season goes on, contrary to what some people want to say is, oh, he's getting his legs underneath him. This isn't it's not a 24-year-old running back who's getting his legs back underneath him. It's an aging veteran running back who I love Nick Chubb. I wish him the best, and I wish he didn't have, this competition. But you start getting towards the middle and end of the season when it's really important, and you get a stretch of Jacksonville, Tennessee, sorry, Aiden, but Buffalo.
I know.
But then the fantasy playoffs are Arizona, Vegas. Granted, you get the Chargers, which is a tough matchup, but by then, who knows exactly what's going to happen. So yeah, there's more positive check marks than there is negatives for Woody Marks.
I think the bottom line here, before we move on here, is that he has a very positive runway rest of the season.
Correct.
Yeah. So yeah, speaking of positive runways, I mean, if we're going to talk about the Arizona Cardinals, which is hard to do right now because they're not a very good offensive team, but I don't know what I don't know what the Arizona Cardinals third and fourth string running backs did. I don't know what they put in the water over there. I don't know what the deal is, but all of a sudden we went from James Conner being Old Faithful and Trey Benson being the high upside guy that everybody loved for all of 7 days, to our next smash play, which we had a couple of questions around here where they was talking about who's going to have the most week 5 PPR points among the backups: Rashad White, Amari DeMarcado, Sean Tucker, or Michael Carter. And then Bob Hope asking us Amari DeMarcado or Michael Carter. He picked up Amari DeMarcado. Nate, you're here to answer that question for us. So tell me which of those running backs you're choosing to go with against Kyle's Tennessee Titans.
With this smash play, one of the caveats is that I'm trying to also find someone whose ECR is so far down that there's value in that player. And when looking at it on paper, Michael Carter at RB77 is an easy smash play because he's going to see. So that's the difference between the two, though, is Michael Carter will probably handle the majority of the workload. Maybe is it this week? I do think that They promoted him from the practice squad. I think he's prepared. He's played this role before. He's played the last minute fill in, comes in and is more successful than what we expected out of him. Amari DeMarcado is going to be the third down back as well as the goal line back in my expectation. There's higher value touches for DeMarcado against Tennessee. Michael Carter, from a desperation standpoint for many teams this week, will be a fine play. No, he won't be a fine play. He will be an adequate play. Nobody's going to be fine in this situation. You're not going to love it. But I would rather, if, the likelihood that you can go out and get one of the two is slim now by comparison. DeMarcado's probably already gone. Michael Carter now will be after the news of Trey Benson. But given like I said, the high value touches, I'm leaning DeMarcado. It doesn't help what I put in the show sheet. I'm going sideways on this. I don't care. I already said this before. I'm going to make a point for kind of both, which is such a gross situation. Never once should I say both are going to be viable, but contrary to like in Tampa where we had Rachaad White and Sean Tucker, I don't see Sean Tucker having enough workload, even if he wasn't getting the high value touches. Whereas I see Michael Carter out in between the 20s, out producing DeMarcado, but it's DeMarcado. Both can deliver value on their ECR right now.
Yeah. And I like where you are on the Michael Carter thing, because at running back 77, a very realistic week from Michael Carter this week in a half PPR situation is to catch 4 or 5 balls for 31 yards, to run for 43 yards, and maybe sneak a touchdown. And if you're desperate for a fill-in in a flex spot and you have a guy who can get you 10, 11 points, I mean, it's not sexy. It ain't fun. But there are going to be people who are going to do worse in that situation than that sort of output on a week like this. So,
for sure.
So yeah, I'm with you in that it's this is a gross backfield to try to predict right now. Which is why Brandon is asking questions about whether the Arizona Cardinals will trade for Dameon Pierce. Very quickly, Aiden, yes or no?
I say no. Like, if they're gonna trade for someone, it's gonna be an upgrade. That would just be like more of the same, I feel. So
why is fantasy football still trying to make Dameon Pierce a thing? Is what I need to know.
Because that first half rookie year.
I know.
5 years ago? I digress, but okay, it's fine.
I'm just saying why. I don't agree with it. I'm just saying why people are.
And so let's get a couple more questions. Wow, what a name. Thank you for joining us, Foreskin. We appreciate having you here tonight. He's asking if we'd rather trade Ken Walker and Jordan Addison for Derrick Henry. And his current running back room is just Ken Walker and DeAndre Swift. Kyle, I'm going to let you take this one.
I usually don't like doing it 2-for-1 like that, but we'll get into for Henry. I would do it, even though I do like Addison a lot. Walker is kind of trending down, so you do get Henry in that regard. Because of that running back room, I don't know if I can fully trust Swift right now either. I would do it. Yeah, if as long as you got the receiver depth to get rid of Addison, I'm okay with it.
And then Nate, let's go to you. Who would you rather sell high on, Justin Fields or Jalen Hurts?
You'll get more in return for Hurts, and I don't think Hurts and Fields are that far separated. Just true commodity side, Hurts is going to warrant so much more in return.
Name value.
Yeah.
And then Patrick, thank you for joining us. He's asking Aiden, would you trade any of these running backs straight up for Tucker Kraft, Jalen Warren, Cam Scatterboo, Woody Marks, RJ Harvey, and his tight end right now is Juwan Johnson?
Probably all of them but Scatterboo.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Shout out the GOAT Cam Scatterboo.
What am I wrong? I mean,
No. I think you're probably right on that. I think the Jalen Warren thing, I mean, he's been great so far this year, but so is Kenny Gainwell. That backfield is Yeah, that backfield is becoming just unpredictable enough to become a problem right now. Woody Marks, we just talked about it, but I think there might be there's some value there, but I don't think you get there when it comes to getting to Tucker Kraft. RJ Harvey is another guy that's off to a slow start, but we'll see what happens there in the coming weeks. I think he's got some upward trajectory going forward.
I think
So,
the only lead back in that entire list is Scadaboo. That's why I'm keeping him. The other ones, there's questions around. They're in a committee.
Right. And then should we drop Zach Ertz next week for Kyle Pitts? I'm going to answer this. Guys, let's answer the question with the question. Is Kyle Pitts back, guys?
Drew would say yes.
He's back.
Yeah, he is. He's probably. Yeah, I'd say so.
Well, look at it like this, Rhett. Would you rather have Ertz rest of the season or Pitts rest of the season?
Kyle Pitts, 100%.
So there you go.
So, yeah.
There's your answer.
And then our boy, Chris Battle, still asking a dynasty question. What's the max draft capital you'd move for Woody Marks or RJ Harvey? Dynasty, what, probably second round?
Yeah, mid-second.
Right now?
Yeah, mid-second, probably.
Yeah.
I think anything more than a mid-second.
I don't know if they would take that second round for that.
That's what I think.
Yeah. I think that's the proper value. But once again, usually in these dynasty sort of situations, you kind of have to overpay to make something like this happen. But I think the proper value is a mid-second in that situation.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And then Mr. Magic, thank you for joining us, my friend. He said, would you rather play Ertz since Jaden Daniels is back and Terry is hurt, or Dallas Goedert?
Got it.
Do we really trust Goddard? I mean, do we really trust him with this 2-touchdown game? And one was on a tush push that he threw out to the inside. Do we really trust that? I think I would go Ertz actually. He looks a lot better with Jaden Daniels than he did Mariota, and I think I would trust Ertz more than Goddard.
God's the ceiling play. Ertz is the floor.
Yeah, and neither has a significant matchup advantage over the other necessarily. I think Aiden, you said that right. The floor versus the ceiling. What do you want more? But it's tight end. That's the thing, is you're not going to really set your week boom or bust. I'm down trailing 30. I need someone to blow up at tight end between Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz. But
no, that ain't it, Chief.
That ain't it. That's ain't too many of them.
That's
boys this year.
That's when you play Kyle Pitts. Hope for the 34.
Exactly.
Pick up Kyle Pitts.
Well, Kyle Pitts, aren't they on a bye this week?
Yeah, he was saying for next week.
Yeah, I'm saying every week.
Well, no, Mr. Magic. Oh, I thought we were answering the Ertz question is a this week thing, right?
It is a this week.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, but you're saying rest of season. Okay.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Yep.
It doesn't matter.
That's
what the timetable is. The answer to a start sit involving Kyle Pitts is always Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts or no? I'm kidding.
It's Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts or Tony Gonzalez for a career. Go, Kyle.
Kyle Pitts or Brock Bowers.
Yeah. No.
No.
He's not gonna let us get away with that.
Let's keep our credibility while we still have it. Kyle, since we're on the tight end corner of the show, man, Baltimore Ravens are in bad shape right now because your smash play involves a team, and this is the second time we had this happen tonight, with one of the worst offensive lines in football that was caught on tape with 6 guys blocking one player.
Yeah.
A quarterback who cannot get his feet under him, and yet, despite all this, you've got Dalton Schultz at tight end 18 as a smash play against the Baltimore Ravens. My God, how far gone are we with the Baltimore Ravens right now, Kyle?
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. But yeah, this is actually one of my favorite streams of the week at tight end. Dalton Schultz at ECR tight end 18. Look, the Ravens have been very generous to tight ends who have allowed the 4th most receiving yards to the position and 7th most fantasy points. He's quietly been top 12 in total targets, receptions, and air yards, Dalton Schultz. The only thing that he's missing is touchdowns, which will come. If they start to come, he's easily could be finishing as a tight end 1 if it happens. And I think it eventually will happen. I mean, Dalton Schultz is that guy. The Ravens secondary, you've mentioned, has been decimated with injuries. I mean, the defensive back, Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins is out, or hurt, I should say, questionable. Linebacker Roquan Smith is questionable. This defense just gave up 270 yards in the air to Patrick Mahomes. Nate could tell you about that, with 4 touchdown passes. Yeah, Dalton Schultz should be able to crush that wide receiver. He should be able to crush that tight end 18 ranking easily, in my opinion. If he's going to score, this is his opportunity to find the end zone.
Yeah. It's kind of a strong case because at the end of the day, I mean, we have the tight end rules of thumb, which are either you want to be a top 2 pass catcher or you want to be a touchdown guy. There's no real in between the tight end position. So it's more tight end dependent it's more touchdown dependent than probably any other position in fantasy football. So yeah, I mean, if you're gonna pick a week to go with Dalton Schultz as a nice stream play, this might be the week as well. Our boy Bronson, thank you for joining us. Nate, he's asking the question: should he trade DJ Moore and Cooper Kupp for Keenan Allen?
Yeah, I'd do it.
I probably would too. I've seen I want to have faith in DJ Moore, and
Same.
And I'm just losing it just each week because there's nothing standing out. There's so many other receivers on a week-to-week basis where you can look at certain statistics, like we've said earlier, like look at unrealized air yards or uncatchable balls, all these other factors, and they haven't inhibited DJ Moore. It's strictly been the connection between him and Caleb Williams just isn't there, and he's focused his attention more on Rome and week in, week out, someone else. Is it Luther Burden? Is it Zacchaeus? Is it just anybody not named DJ Moore? And Cooper Kupp is even non-existent when there's been injuries. Yeah. Keenan Allen, the rapport with Herbert's real, and I think we'll continue to see that.
What if we see a trade for DJ Moore by the deadline? Same thing.
I don't know if you would do that if you're the Bears, though. I don't see.
I don't either. I'm just hypothetical.
No, I would love it. I mean, I don't know which team it would be that would be that. Well, yeah, I'll always say that positive, but by that point, though, there's really not any because Rashee Rice will be back, and then
the Bills could use him. I mean,
I don't disagree. Yeah, I'm sure we could find a team, but yeah, I think I would do that. Moore and Kupp for Keenan Allen.
I would too.
You know who could definitely use him?
The Saints.
The worst team in football, the New Orleans Saints. They just need anything right now.
Devon Bailey.
We traded for Devon Bailey, and we were like, upgrade. That's where this team is right now. And he doesn't play. All right, so the E. Smithy, thank you for joining us. He says he has 3 wide receivers on his team and 2 are questionable. So if we had to drop one of these RBs to get a wide receiver off of waivers, which would you drop? I'm guessing Trey Benson, David Montgomery, Woody March, Travion Henderson, or Rashad White. I mean, the obvious answer right now is Trey Benson because he's hurt, right? He's on IR for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Trey Benson.
Yep, that's the answer.
Don't drop him, though. Like, if you have an IR spot, do that. But
yeah, good advice.
And E. Smitty also asking probably the most disgusting quarterback question we're going to get all year.
Oh, my God.
Start one, McCorkle Jones, Spencer Rattler, Jake Browning, or Dylan Gabriel.
What kind of team is – okay, anyway.
All right, so not Gabriel against Minnesota.
No way.
Browning's probably the highest ceiling for like that explosive 300 touchdown gains.
Is there a ceiling though?
Yeah, exactly. Even 2 foot high.
He does have the
still
best
feeling.
weapons.
He has the best weapons.
Yeah.
I think Mac Jones has been the most consistent when he's had weapons, but he doesn't have weapons. Spencer
No.
Rattler probably. I would go Browning, Rattler, Gabriel Jones.
Ooh, Kyle, can I do my Spencer Rattler rant right now?
Go
I
for
heard
it.
this earlier.
Yeah. I workshopped this with Aiden earlier because I didn't realize how bad Spencer Rattler has been until I really dug deep into his numbers. So this is all off the top of my head. So Spencer Rattler is 4th in the league in pass attempts. The Saints run the fastest. They run the most plays per minute in the league. They have the worst game script in football. Spencer Rattler has the 4th most deep ball attempts. He's top 10 in air yards. Yet, he averages 5.2 yards per attempt, which is 32nd at the position. He's quarterback 23 in fantasy points per game, 15 points per game. And his expected fantasy points per game are something like 19.5, which would be top 5 at the position.
So there you go. Expected.
See, he's expected to do well.
Yeah.
Very
He's
well.
expected.
Very well
The
done.
opportunity-
Very well done.
The opportunity is there, but as Cam Ward once said so eloquently, we ask.
So
So
it's a Rattler issue. Got it.
it's a Rattler issue. You got 100%, bud. And so he's asking what wide receiver would we target that's cheap based off of his first question on the running backs. That's a good question.
Cheap off the waiver or cheap to acquire and trade?
Like a buy low.
Yeah, I mean, because that would be an option instead of dropping one of the people. If you could physically make a trade for a running back needy team, because there's probably some out there.
Travion Henderson. I mean, I know we saw flashes last week, but the full breakout hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, and he's saying it's a buy low candidate.
Is it worth? I don't know. Is this buy low, Nate? You'll be able to tell me.
What's that?
Going out and seeing the owner to Rashee Rice. What if he's like 1-3 right now or 0-4?
Yeah, honestly, that was one of the names. I just wonder if someone's holding on to him this long. The longer you hold on to a commodity like that, the more value they gain in your mind because you've held on this long. Now, if they're 1-4, the question then I would have to ask is, do any of the running backs that he mentioned earlier deliver enough value? And I think Aiden's onto something. I think Travion Henderson, while probably has the highest, ceiling of all the ones as far as if he really truly broke out and took over for Ramondre.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you might be able to get Rashee Rice for Travion, depending upon the situation for the fantasy manager. That's what I would say. I mean, I always use buy low situations within a vacuum of, I look at every team's lineup. I'm going to look at the team that just lost Bucky Irving, or look at the team that lost, well, it won't be Trey Benson because that's you, but you get what I'm going at is look at those situations and then see what wide receiver has been underperforming, if any. I'm hesitant to mention it, even though I do think there's greener pastures ahead. Calvin Ridley is probably free from some manager. And I know it's gross, and I want to believe, but I don't know if I can.
Yeah. What about Ted McMillan coming off a couple of down games?
I don't know. I feel like the rookie hype, because where the person drafted him was probably, towards the end when the hype was the highest. And I feel like those guys take the longest to become buy lows. I think it's usually the veterans that are, year 6, year 5, year 6 veterans that start off slow, and you don't think there's chance to turn around. Yeah. That actually, before this past week, would have been perfect. This past week he did good, but no, it's that type of player that I'm considering myself, at least. But Rashee Rice could be the answer if that person's in a situation. I would love to be able to grab his phone from him and scroll through the entire league and look and try to identify that. But I don't have.
Here's an interesting buy low, because the targets have been there. It's just the usage hasn't been. Brian Thomas Jr. right now.
Yeah. Yep.
6+ targets every week so far this year. It's just that they just, for some reason, that usage is just off right now. And maybe they'll figure it out, and maybe they won't. But that's a prime buy low guy, but we've seen it come from him before.
Yeah.
Great. That's a good answer.
But looking at his wire, I mean, there's some options there for him. Ridley, A.O. Manor, Troy Franklin, Malik Washington are all on the waiver wire for him. I mean,
I do Franklin and A.O. Mano. But
yeah.
Unfortunately, there's the Ridley name. It sucks so much because it is just. Sorry, Kyle. You know,
It's not supposed to be this bad.
yeah,
no, I was really high on him and Tony Pollard both. I thought were in perfect.
A.O. Mano is
great.
not targeting him.
Yeah, he's a freak. All
So
right.
yeah, super 3P. Oh, epic fail. That's what it is. Yeah, I'm stupid. Superflex League is QBs are Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields, Carson Wentz. His running backs are K9, Pacheco, and Aaron Jones. His wide receivers are Puka, Nico Collins, Devontae, Stephon Diggs, Keon Coleman. Someone offered him Baker, Kyron, and Tet for my Fields, Nico, Pacheco. God. That's a tough one because what you're asking right now, I think Nico's probably him and Kyron are the two most historically good fantasy football players, but it seems like Blake Corum is starting to carve out more of a role in that offense. Ted McMillan, we all love, but we haven't really seen a huge breakout game yet. So how do y'all feel about this trade overall?
I think it's kind of even, honestly. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, in a super flex, I want to have 3 quarterbacks, and it looks like he would drop down to only having 2.
And the rushing upside with Fields.
No, he would. I mean, yes, technically, because Wentz will eventually probably lose it, so he'll get. He'll still have Hurts,
So
Baker.
that would make me kind of nervous having the 2.
A little bit of that has to go with what do we think. As bad as the Chiefs' running game has been so far, last week was a little bit of a shining light. Pacheco had some running room, but at the same time, just as he was opportunistic with some of the touches, so was Brashard Smith. And so is it then going to level out? Like, I don't want anything to do with anybody in the Kansas City running game. I really don't. Sorry at all. But I really don't want to give up on Nico too soon if that's what you feel like you're doing. But I mean, when you have Puka and Devonta Smith, you're in good shape. I wouldn't do it myself, I don't think, but I'm open to you guys. I think that's also just because I'm not as high on Baker, and I just hate to get rid of Nico at this point because I think he could easily be the wide receiver 1, 2, 3 going forward.
I'm kind of on your side there, Nate. I agree with you. I kind of would just kind of stand back.
It's closer than you might think, though, but I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's not super easy. Non-PPR.
All right, so non-PPR, how would you rank Jordan Addison, Chris Olave, and Keenan Allen? He has to drop one of them, maybe even 2 of them. Olave's last on the list, right?
Like rest of the season is this? Like,
I'm guessing so because he's saying he has to drop 2. So I'm looking at it. I've read it as a rest of season situation.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Olave's the worst of the bunch. We would definitely drop him. He's getting a lot of targets, but none of those are really good leverage targets at all.
Targets.
I am shocked that he's in the top 10 in red zone targets in Chris Olave, but
is he?
Yeah, he's right.
Holy moly!
That's all Rattler targets is Olave.
He's 10. Yeah, he's 10. 3
That's
for
why
5.
Rattler throws 40 times a game.
Right, but that same rationale, Keenan Allen's 4th, separated only by 1, but that's what I'd have to look at. Is I just don't I mean, when we said it last week or this past Sunday when Chris Olave's pacing 200 targets and less than 1,000 yards. That is not a non-PPR.
That's like a Wando Robinson stat
sexy.
line.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, exactly. Just with a worse quarterback somehow. Sorry.
A better player, but worse quarterback.
Yeah.
Guys, you remember when I made the bold prediction talking about how somebody might break the targets record? I forget who the player was off the top of my head, saying that
It was Malik
Huh?
Neighbors. It was Neighbors.
it was Malik Neighbors. And now Malik Neighbors is out for the season. And we're talking about Chris Olave possibly getting 200 targets. What sort of world are we living in right now?
What is going on?
How perverted is fantasy football if this is where we are?
I know.
Rhett's upset.
Sick.
All right. So Mr. Magic asking, do we think Kamara gets traded even though he stated he wants to retire? A Saint, this feels like a me question, doesn't it?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I don't think he gets traded. I think he should get traded. There is no dignity in making someone who has been as good of a servant for the Saints franchise for as long as Alvin Kamara has been. There is no dignity in making this man suffer based off of a statement that he made however many years ago. The bottom line is this. You owe that cat the respect of giving him the opportunity to go get a ring. Whether that's Kansas City, I don't care. I don't care where you trade him. He deserves that much, and you actually give yourself an opportunity to start your rebuild and accelerate your rebuild because Kamara is probably still worth at the trade deadline market, probably a second or third round pick.
Rhett, they're not rebuilding.
Well, you have to rebuild when you're already on the ground and you're in ashes. There's no other thing to go besides, get the.
They don't do what they should do, though. So,
hey, Rhett, and to your point, Kendrick Miller, he's got some juice now. He actually.
Yes. Yeah, he does.
He's a coach that
Kendrick Miller. I'm a hater.
And
listen,
you know what?
You and Dennis Allen, Nate. You and Dennis Allen.
I hate Kendrick Miller.
And Kamara could always sign the one day deal, and retire as a Saint. So that still could happen.
So they owe it to him, but knowing Mickey Loomis, they probably won't. All right, full PPR, he was offered Devontae Smith for Devontae Adams for Jamar Chase. He has Drake London, Brian Thompson, Ted McMillan. He's 2-2, and he needs another running back. He has Amari and Hampton and a bunch of handcuffs. I guess my question is this. If you need another running back, why are we offering Devontae Adams for Jamar Chase?
Yeah, shopping for a running back.
Yeah.
But I would.
You could probably get a good one.
Oh, yeah. You very easily should be able to acquire
an RB1.
Yeah. And I would love, because I do think there's brighter days ahead for Drake London, BTJ, Ted McMillan.
I mean, he broke out last week, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Drake London.
And Smitty, we missed it the first time, but we were going to get to it, I promise. How do we feel about Jordan Addison or Chris Godwin? Kyle, how do you feel about either one of them? Who do you prefer? Rest of the season.
That's tough. That's actually a really good question.
I think it's neck and neck.
I think from what I've seen in the preseason with McCarthy, I like Addison a lot. When we get McCarthy back, they looked like they had a little bit of chemistry going in the preseason. I can't wait to see that kind of build throughout the regular season. And, Chris Godwin, he's good and all, but Mike Evans is going to come back. Buka's really come on strong. So I would take Addison in this situation. I feel more confident with Addison the rest of the season.
Yeah, that's a solid statement. So would you guys rather play Seattle's defense or Philly's defense this week? Guys, this is a rare defense special teams question. We don't get many of these around here.
No.
What are the opponents?
Oh, man. Philly against Denver or Seattle against Tampa.
Oh, that's two good offenses.
I know. I feel like I trust the Seattle Tampa game to be more low scoring and kind of, but that in turn goes hand in hand. That's tricky thing about starting defense is you almost want to have the defense on a team that is trailing by heavy double digits. So they have to chuck the ball and you get better chances of turnovers.
Yeah. You almost want that shootout because if you get a couple interceptions in there and you get some turnovers, then you stumble into 10 fantasy points.
Just stream the Giants defense versus the Saints. That's what I do.
You stream everybody against the Saints.
Sound advice.
It's worked.
I don't think we answered it, but I guess if I had to say, I would go with, I'd have to look to see who has actually forced more turnovers. I would assume it's Philly, but
I would think so too.
I'd probably go the Eagles just because there's turnover potential, but
right. Yeah, exactly.
It's tough.
And it's actually Seattle. Seattle's forced 7 turnovers and the Eagles have forced 5. So
but they've scored. The Eagles scored.
It's true.
Yeah, the forced Bo Nix to drop back a lot. So
but yeah, I see your point, Nate. That's a good because you don't want to rely on those touchdowns. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. I guess Seattle's your answer. Gross. Sorry for defense questions.
No problem. So let's get back into these smash plays because Aiden's second smash play tied him with a little bit of a breakout week last week. I think it was 9 targets, 6 receptions. Mason Taylor was off to a little bit of a slow start or a lot of a slow start, but really started to show some signs last week, and then he's playing the Cowboys this week. So go ahead and talk us through that, Aiden.
Well, let's start with your last. Sorry, I was counting. 5 words there. Then he's playing the Cowboys. Everyone who's playing the Cowboys, no matter how good or bad they may seem, apparently goes off. And Mason Taylor's coming off a week where he just had a 33% target share, guys. That's a very impressive target share for any player, let alone a day 2 rookie tight end in Mason Taylor. Obviously, Garrett Wilson is the clear alpha, unquestioned number 1 receiver with some of the spectacular end zone catches he makes. And then Breece Hall gets some out of the backfield when Justin Fields does check it down, but it's kind of inconsistent when he will and when he won't, because when they get to the goal line, they'll hand it to Breece Hall. So I don't know if the touchdowns rest of the season, specifically this week against the Cowboys, will be there for Mason Taylor, but Mason Taylor is the number 2 option in this passing game, guys. I strongly feel behind Garrett Wilson. In his direct position group, you've got Stone Smart and Jeremy Ruckert, who I liked Stone Smart last year on the Chargers, but they're not really playing. And Mason Taylor's snap share has gone way up as the season gone on, and his target share has gone way up as the season gone on. And they're playing an absolutely dreadful defense in the Dallas Cowboys. So I feel like the connection between Justin Fields and Mason Taylor has only grown. And he's getting a lot of targets, and he's coming down with a lot of those targets in the middle of the field as well. So I'll go with Mason Taylor versus the Jets. If you're looking for like a sneaky tight end to stream, I think Mason Taylor is a prime candidate for that.
Yeah, he looked good last week. He did. I mean, I was impressed. I looked at his name when we were doing this show sheet as well as someone who would be a good option. I saw that you had him in, so that's a good call.
Nice.
Yeah, so those are our smash players. And as we start, before we get to these smash players, the key to winning a fantasy football championship, as always, is hitting those draft picks, hitting that waiver wire strong. And then if you do, you can head over to Trophy Smack and you can get yourself a 10% off discount code using the code Fantasy and Frames 10 for anything they have in stock. Whether it's a big championship belt, whether it's a ring, whether it's a trophy, you name it, they got it. All you have to do is get to TrophySmack.com, put in the code Fantasy and Frames 10, save yourself some money, and hook your league up with a ridiculous piece of championship swag over at TrophySmack.com. So, guys, let's get into these past plays. Keep in mind to remind our listeners and watchers, they're players inside the top 15 quarterbacks, top 20 running backs, top 35 wide receivers, or top 12 tight ends. And Nate, we're going to start with you. You kind of segued this a while ago. You said you liked Devontae Smith more than A.J. Brown. And as a matter of fact, you standing behind this so much that you have A.J. Brown as the ECL wide receiver 17 as a pass against the Denver Broncos this week. Is this a pass or 10 problem?
It's partially Pat Surtain. I mean, it's more or less almost directly Pat Surtain problem for why I would pass on him, because we want to use the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and he had maybe one of the squeakiest statements that you could make as far as coming off of, which the crazy part is I just don't understand. Your team's winning football games. I know that, you want the ball and you want a scheme to be more, AJ Brown friendly, I guess, but you're winning football games. And at the end of the day, I don't know if the squeaky wheel gets the grease in this case necessarily, because I don't think Jalen Hurts really cares to risk that by in a really tough matchup. So yes, is it Pat Surtain? Of course. Is it also for every reason that Kyle gave about Devontae Smith and exploiting the one area where I think that they can try to is, looking away from Pat Surtain and finding an area that's, because the running game is going to struggle too. Denver's a really, dangerous matchup for both passing and running. And so, yeah, I wanted to buy AJ Brown. I really did, as far as, buy low. The upside is there, but is it? We've talked about this ad nauseum so far tonight, as far as what Philly's offense will look like from a fantasy perspective. Is I don't know if it's supportive week in and week out of AJ Brown. And I don't think this is one of those weeks that it will be.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and I looked at the schedule ahead, Nate, and there's a couple of games coming up for the Eagles that it'll be positive game script for the Eagles to run the football after Denver. I mean, New York, Minnesota, New York, the Giants smashed right there before the bye. So there's 3 games right there that they should be winning, and they should be running the football quite a bit.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, AJ Brown as one player who has been concerning all year. Kyle, you also mentioned this a while ago about your first pass play being a guy who is kind of trending downward. And he's got the Tampa Bay Bucks this week. He's the ECR running back 16. But it's safe to say right now that Kenneth Walker is not heading in the direction we want him to, especially considering how much we all wanted to believe in him to start the year.
Yeah, I can't seem to figure him out on his runs. Like 1 minute he's breaking an explosive carry for 15 to 20 yards, and then the next he's spinning out of the backfield for a tackle for a loss. I can't wrap my head around it, man, watching him play. But it's also a nightmare matchup for Walker against the Buccaneers. We know that. The Bucs just held Saquon Barkley to 43 yards on 2.3 yards per carry. The backfield, too, in Seattle is murky, to say the least. Zach Charbonnet is actually leading in the snap shares at 52% compared to Walker's 44.4%. And it's even worse when we talk inside the 10-yard line. Charbonnet's the guy down there. He dominates the touches with 7 carries on the season to Walker's 3 inside the 10. And at running back 16 this week, that just feels a little bit too rich for me as a strong running back 2 play. There's other backs below Walker that I consider more that we mentioned earlier, Woody Marks, Rachaad White. I would rather play those guys over Walker this week. And maybe talked a little about it earlier with Aiden. Travion Henderson is another option that maybe you could go to for this week over Kenneth Walker in this tough matchup. So I would try to find another alternative if you can, if you have Kenneth Walker, because it looks pretty ugly.
As a matter of fact, you couldn't have segued more perfectly into this E. Smitty question that was in the chat, because he's asking you to start 2 running backs. And you mentioned 3 out of the 4, right? 3 out of the 4 that he talked about: Rachaad White, Travion Henderson, and Woody Marks. And then he throws in David Montgomery. So, Sano business, give me 2 of those guys you can start, Kyle.
Yeah, I would go Marks and Rachaad White just for volume.
Yeah.
Aiden, you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I think those are 2 strong volume plays. So
good deal. So, Aiden, speaking of Rachaad White and speaking of the Tampa Bay Bucks, your first pass play. First off, as much as I love the Cam Ward soundbite, and I can't stop talking about it, my most consistent soundbite all year has been Baker Mayfield. Did you guys see the clip where they were talking about they asked him Baker, do you ever miss the glory days in Carolina?
Oh,
And
with
he
Sam
went,
Darnold, yeah.
no, yeah, but like it's just like glory days. He's like, yeah, I think he went, nope. It's something along those lines. Like,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
would have never thought that Baker Mayfield would be so lovable, but apparently you don't love him as the ECR quarterback 11 against Seattle this week. In the reuniting of the whatever year it was, Carolina Panthers quarterback room, Darnold versus Mayfield. Apparently you're taking Darnold this week.
Yeah. The Seattle Seahawks have a very good defense. The one weakness is the run defense, if there was a defense. So, like Kyle mentioned, I really like Rachaad White this week as a volume play. I don't know how much touchdown opportunity there'll be there, but I think they're going to lean heavily on the running game. And if you just look at Baker, he doesn't have their offensive line's a mess. Basically, 3 out of their 5 stars are injured. I know Tristan Wirfs is back. That helps. Baker doesn't have Mike Evans, though. He's not going to have Buggy Irving. We'll just say he's not going to have Buggy Irving at this point. K-Dye and tight end is And I know Emeka Ibuka's awesome, and Chris Godwin was technically out there on the field last week, and he had a surprising amount of targets, 10 targets, right? But I don't know where he really went with those targets, if that makes sense. He didn't really look like he was fully back. I don't know if he should have came back that early or not. Who am I to say? But yeah, I don't know. I just don't like Baker against a really strong Seattle defense this week. And we've all talked about Rachaad White. I think they're going to lean on Rachaad White volume heavily this week.
I mean, it's a fair point because the Seattle defense has been pretty solid all season. But let's move in to those second pass plays. And then I'm going to bounce back to you to a quarterback who is coming back this week, but is also going through a bit of a sophomore slump prior to his injury. Yet, Jaden Daniels still clocking in as the ECR quarterback 6, but man, he's got a tough matchup ahead of him this week, the Chargers, who are arguably one of the AFC's best teams right now.
Yeah, and a lot of the ECR is based off of what we know Jaden Daniels can do, and that is win a game with his legs, win a game with his arms. Usually it's a combination of the two. If you go back dating to, week 1 of last year, when he's finished as a top 10 quarterback on the week, he needs to have that, 45-yard rushing floor. There's only been 2 games where he's finished as a top 10 option with less than 45 yards rushing last year, and that continues into this year. And unfortunately, when you're suffering a knee injury, you're lacking not only your top receiving option, but just as a whole, you're going to have to try to do everything with your arm, because the defense is not helping him out in any case either, where they can establish a running game. He's going to be held, I don't want to say at mercy, but the fact of the matter is I don't see the rushing floor upside this week. I don't think that we're going to get this high output passing volume. And so I have my reservations. It's going to be hard not to play him. Don't get me wrong. We can go through the list of quarterbacks. Would you rather? I don't want to do that game. That exercise is no fun to do right now as we're getting close. But I will say, this is definitely a temper expectation with Jaden Daniels. I don't love this week specifically until I see that knee is at least 90%. And I don't know where we're at right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Because, he's off to a rough start. He's a guy who relies on that rushing floor to get his fantasy production. So, yeah, it's all a solid case all around. Let's get back to the questions. Where Wuno, thank you for joining us. Mm-hmm. He's asking that he has an Addison and A.M. Manor for Hurts offer sitting in his inbox. He has Herbert and Purdy, so he'd probably have to try to sell one if he took it, though. He's leaning no. Guys, I kind of agree with him leaning no, because, I feel like you can get a better package for Jalen Hurts than that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks are hard to trade.
I'd pick Hurts pretty easily, but.
Yeah, so Speaking of quarterbacks, with our second pass play, Kyle, we talked before the show, and I'm going to say this. If nothing else, you're a man after my own heart. Just like Aiden with Woody Marks, you decided to seek my love language and put some faith in the Saints defense and list Jackson Dart as the ECR quarterback 14 as a pass play this week. Probably because you don't think Jackson Dart deserves to be ranked that highly coming off of a 110-yard performance. But nonetheless, my biggest question was for you, have you seen the Saints defense this year? And if you have, what gives you so much faith that Jackson Dart can't hit that quarterback 14 threshold?
I'm just going to have to be the one to do it because, everyone seems that seems to just be on this Dart wagon all of a sudden, because he's the first round rookie finally getting the NFL start. And sure, he finished quarterback 11 this week. But let's lift the hood up a little bit. Let's take a closer look, shall we? He ran a touchdown and he passed one. Great. Rhett said it. He threw for 111 yards and he threw for 111 yards. I need to say that again. And he did run 10 times for 54 yards. But it's also his first ever road game in a dome in the NFL. His best receiving option, Malik Neighbors, is out for the season, okay? So his options to throw to, because he has 111 yards last week, so his options to throw to are Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, and Jalen Hyatt, who's a 9-route only kind of guy. Okay?
Theo Johnson, too.
It's a bunch of JV players, Aiden. Let's get to the point. And the Saints, okay, they deserve to be clowned on. Rhett will be the first one to admit it. He will stand up and say, yeah, we can clown the Saints. But this defense in New Orleans isn't just going to lay down. They're not going to let this rookie run all over them. Look, they are a feisty group. They don't just lay down. They do try, Rhett. And if you look at last week against Buffalo, Josh Allen did his thing, but it's Josh Allen. He had 4 touchdowns in the game, but for the most part of that football game, it wasn't contested throughout. I mean, the Saints were in it against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills offense. The Saints were in it. And Allen only threw 209 yards. Look, I know. Dart can definitely prove me wrong here, and I'm fine with that. But to be quarterback 14, I feel good about that. Not completing quarterback 14. I feel pretty good about putting him here on my fades list.
Now, there is one thing I am going to agree with you on this, Kyle. If nothing else, good coach Kellen Moore is going to make sure our boys always have orange slices at halftime and a pizza party at the end of the year. So they're going to play hard for him. Okay? I get it. But they might play as hard as they can. They can be ready to run through fire for him. Bottom line is this. If your guys that are running through fire still aren't very good, then it's tough. Like, it's that cornerback situation. And I get that Jackson Dart wasn't great last week throwing the football. Bottom line, Kool-Aid McKinstry and Alontae Taylor and Isaac Yadam and whoever else it is that is out there covering haven't been very good at covering receivers this year. So, I mean, what's that?
I said, can I tell you something?
Sure.
I have a fun fact. Every single defensive back in the Saints is allowing at least a 100 or better passer rating and coverage this year.
We're so back, baby. We're so back.
But at the end of the day, though, Rhett, Jackson Dart is throwing to JV type. All these receivers are like 3 and 4s on most other teams. And really, all the Saints really have to do is stop Jackson Dart with his legs. Just stop him from running. He can't throw the ball. I'm telling you. He's one-dimensional. If they could just focus on the run, and he does get sacked a lot, okay? They could put them in situations where Jackson Dart has to throw, and it won't be pretty. It won't be pretty. I'm confident he's not going to finish quarterback 14 or better. Rhett, you think he's going to be a quarterback 5 for the week?
No, but JV corners versus JV receivers isn't an uninteresting matchup. So that's that.
This feels
That's fair.
personal.
So I don't know, man. Like I said, yeah, you're saying they have to limit you have to limit their legs, but the Saints haven't been very good at stopping teams from scoring points all year. And if Jackson Dart snakes another rushing touchdown, runs for 45 and throws for 150, he can outperform his ADP his ranking like he did last week. So it's not impossible, but I hear you when you say you wouldn't bet money on it either. So
If he goes
fair
out
enough.
and he balls out, I'm sure my phone will be dinged up in a lot of Discord messages from you, Rhett.
Yeah, no, it's fine. So, Aiden, take us home with your last pass pick with Jordan Mason against the Browns in London. The ECR running back 19, who has actually played pretty well this year, but this Browns defense, no matter how you slice it, they're always the Browns may not do a lot of things well. They tend to do defense pretty well.
Yeah, this is no slight against Jordan Mason. I actually love Jordan Mason as a player. Like, I loved him last year in San Francisco. I love him this year so far in Minnesota. But, man, not this week against the Browns in London. Let's start there. Number one, London games early in the morning. They're always weird. Okay? They just are. They're number two. Both these defenses are very, very good. Specifically, the Browns' run defense against Mason. So, for both teams, Mason and the Vikings in this case, I don't know if there's going to be much, if at all, much touchdown opportunities in this game. I feel like this is going to be an ugly, slow, low-scoring game. And running backs, their value derives from the pass game and passing downs. Well, if you look at it, the Vikings don't really trust Jordan Mason in the passing downs, it seems, because they clearly and obviously prefer Xavier Scott in those passing down roles. So he seems to be taking the snaps away from Mason in that department. So I don't know. Both these teams have really good defenses. Both these teams have really subpar QBs. I feel this is going to be very low scoring, not much touchdown opportunities. That's why I'm fading Jordan Mason. He doesn't really bring value as a pass catcher. Clearly, that's shifted to Xavier Scott's role. And Carson Wentz just kind of like unraveled last week anyway. So I'm not very confident in it as a whole.
Any thoughts, Kyle?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, I know it's not good analysis, but those international games, like to Aiden's point, they're always low scoring. They're always now minus last week. That Steeler game was actually pretty good. But typically those international games are low scoring and not really a lot of fun to watch.
Weird.
I would like to look up the data on it actually and see. I get the reason probably behind it is the travel and this and that, but it really, I would like to know because it's really low, Rhett. Like those games are boring and low scoring.
Yeah. And with two elite defenses besides for this week.
Yeah, and I mean, so it's tough to know what's going to happen, but regardless of what happens, guys, we did our best tonight to give you our smash and pass players for the week. To recap, Nate picked Rashad White, Kyle picked Devontae Smith, and Aiden picked Woody Marks. Then they went through the second round where Nate picked Michael Carter, Kyle went with Dalton Schultz, and Aiden went with Mason Taylor. Then for the pass plays, Nate went with A.J. Brown and Jaden Daniels. Kyle went with Kenneth Walker and Jackson Dart. And Aiden went with Baker Mayfield and Jordan Mason. But before we get out of here, guys, let's talk about our friends over at Fast Draft. The season is heating up, and Fast Draft has hooked you up with some new games to play. You can get in on a Flex 6 Frenzy. That's a mouthful. A 10-team, 6-round game where you pick running backs, wide receivers, or tight ends on a 6-round, 20-second clock. You pick your best 6 in PPR scoring for the Sunday slate, and you profit. Or the Quick 6 Super Slam where you're picking 6 guys for the Sunday game. No salary cap, no problem. You make your best pick. You pick your best 6, and you make it happen over at Fast Draft. So, fellas, before we get out of here, Aiden, what you working on right now, bud?
Yeah, so over at fantasyframes.com, I do the weekly waiver wire article. every Monday night / Tuesday morning at the latest that comes out. I go over priority targets at QB, running back, wide receiver, and tight end, and also throw in a few streaming defenses as well, usually to pick on bad offenses. Sorry, Rhett, but that's just how it goes. That's why I picked the Giants this week as my number one streaming defense against the Saints. But yeah, I have a blast with that every Monday. And yeah, that's just what I'm doing. So,
Kyle?
Yeah, I'm working on plays and fades for week 5. It's pretty much it's already pretty much done. We just Jorge's got to go through it and do his special thing, get it up on the website. So maybe sometime tomorrow, I think is his goal. So look for that at fantasyandframes.com. It's plays and fades for week 5. A lot of the guys we talked about tonight were on the list and a lot more. So go check it out, fantasyandframes.com.
And of course, next week, bounce back with us as we get to that week 6 of Smash and Pass. So for Nate Markham at Nate Markham, he had to bounce out of it because of technical issues. For our boy Drew Scott at Drew 3MR, we miss you, brother. For my boy A. Weingartner at A. Weingartner, A. Weingartner 13. For the man Kyle Ziegler at KZ1180. You can find me on X at rmanual sports. We are Fourth and Frames, and ladies and gentlemen, we out. Toodles.